All right, this is going to be part 3, assessments that sell training. You've already seen part 1 and part 2. This is the final part. Also, don't forget, there's going to be a free webinar. I'm going to teach you how to sell training. How do you sell packages of training, sessions of training for top dollar? How you present makes a big difference. It's at trainerwebinar.com. It's free. It's June 3rd, and it's happening at 4 p.m. So please go. Again, it's free. Can't wait to see you there. Here comes part 3. All right, so this is part 3. We're going to talk about assessments, but to be more specific, assessments that sell training. And this is a very important topic. In fact, this is an area that I saw trainers screw up all the time, and fixing this made a huge difference with the trainers.
I know Adam brought this up earlier off mic, but it really what I saw was nobody really using assessments,
yes,
which was a big problem in itself, and then overcomplicating the hell out of it.
Yes.
I wasn't taught properly. I don't know if you guys remember who taught you, but it wasn't until I had gotten, I don't know, 3 or so certifications, and it was probably my second NASM certification before I really started to learn how to assess somebody properly. And then I started to understand corrective exercise and do that. Up until that point, the assessment was really a formality. It really was like this is at least how I was taught in my gym, was like, here's these series of questions that you need to have them answer and sign, basically to release of liability more than anything. And, and then they had this I remember it was purple, and it was this like body, like
the card.
Yeah. It was like a picture of their body, and you're supposed to, circle areas of concern or whatever like that. Yeah. And I remember actually my thought process from what I had pieced together, because I wasn't taught, was like, oh, this person had like knee surgery, I'd circle the knee, or they would say I have back pain, I would circle the back. And so that'd be like, and then you go to the floor and go work them out. And just start working them out. It wasn't until years later that I was taught corrective exercise. I knew the importance of movement and understand what asymmetry and imbalances look like in the body, and how profound that could be in somebody's pursuit to overall health and fitness. And it became the cornerstone of my training. So it was so wild. And to Justin's point about me communicating off air, the other thing I was talking about was I felt like either you understood that, and then you over communicated. You did like these crazy FMS deep dive, like the whole thing was assessing, and then your client didn't feel like
an hour to get through.
Oh yeah, an hour to get through was like over their head. They feel like, what did I just show up to? Or you had the other end of the spectrum, the trainer who me early on didn't know what the hell they were doing, just went out there and worked you out.
Yep.
And the answer is somewhere in the middle.
No, so first off, as a trainer, you never stop assessing a client. So you're always assessing. Every session includes some kind of an assessment, whether you express it to them verbally or not. So let's get that out of the way. But what we're talking about specifically in this episode is typically done as a free session. This is typically done as your first appointment with someone who has yet to hire you. So you've booked an appointment for a free assessment and workout with me. That's what this typically is. And so what people need to understand, what trainers need to understand, is that the value of this assessment here, particular, the specific one we're talking about here, the main value of this is to show the client, the potential client, your value. The main value of this assessment is not to give you all the answers as the trainer. That's where you get the overcomplicated assessment. This is where you get the medical assessments, where they're going through, and I've seen trainers with protractors and rulers, and I literally have. And it doesn't communicate any value to the potential client at all. They just think that you're doing all these different diagnostic tools. Yeah, but it's not really communicating anything. So number one, understand this. The goal of this assessment in that free session is to get them to hire you. That's the goal. Yeah. This client is going to go through this assessment with me, and at the end of it, they're going to see the value in paying me to train them. So that's what you have to go in understanding. Now, it's unfortunate that I have to say this. You need to do an assessment, because trainers who don't do assessments, you're missing out massive opportunity to convey value. And what you're actually communicating to a lot of people who are somewhat educated is that you're not a good trainer. In fact, we communicate on many episodes that a red flag for a bad trainer is that they don't do any assessment. They just take you through a workout.
Well, if you don't, then you are basically showing that your value is you are just a glorified counter and drill sergeant.
That's it.
Like if you go straight into a workout with no real assessing, then all you are is a cheerleader that can count.
That's it.
And that is what you're conveying. And now that may work for some people who are absolutely clueless to what kind of service they should be getting, which sometimes ends up, this is why it's like these trainers continue to do this because, one out of every 3 people have no idea. And so they sign up for me or they like my personality or maybe I'm full of energy and they want that. But you are missing out on way more if by not doing a full assessment. Once you learn how to do that, and I think the best way I think I've ever heard you or anybody who knows how to assess somebody sell it to the trainer on why this is so important is I don't care if you're the best trainer in the world, in 1 hour's time, you cannot build a pound of muscle, you can't lose a pound of fat. So you cannot take somebody and show, which by the way is going to be 90% of people's goals. You'll have some rehab and health goals, but for the most part, they are there because they want to look better, feel better, lose fat, build muscle. Right. And you cannot physiologically do that in 1 hour.
No, it's impossible.
But you can take somebody who has had nagging knee pain or low back pain or shoulder clicking and issues, and you can show them some proper movements to fix that or greatly improve that in 1 hour.
And they can feel it.
Or reveal something that they had no idea.
They didn't even know.
About their body.
Yes.
Right. And dude, this is the cornerstone of my entire training process was the assessment because, yes, like you said, that is such a longer conversation and multiple visits to really establish the fact that we're going to be able to get to this destination, this place that you came in for in terms of your body fat goals and your strength and your muscle goals. But what I can do, within that short period of time is I can really show them how to have their body hold a position, how to relieve pain, how to have them move in a particular way where they didn't realize, they were capable of that. And it's really mind-blowing for them.
If you don't do this, and especially if you don't do it, and if you don't do it well, then what the potential client is going to do when they look at your services is they're going to compare your price to other trainers because you are no different than another trainer. Aside from maybe your personality, the way you look, they're like, oh, you charge $150 an hour? That's a lot. This other trainer over here charges. But when you do a really good assessment and you're presenting your value, which we're going to get into, then they start to realize you're different. You know things. You're better than other people. Then when you present, you'll become a high-tier trainer by doing an effective assessment or doing an assessment that conveys your value effectively. So that's the important thing to understand here is you got to go in understanding I'm doing these free assessments. My goal is to try and get them to become my clients. The goal of this assessment isn't to give me all the information, which is impossible in 1 hour anyway. The goal of this assessment is to get that client to understand, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to be, and I'm worth every dollar. At the end of this, they're going to look at me and go, yes, I want to hire you.
I'm in good hands. You want them to feel that.
That's right. So the first thing you should not do is make it super detailed. You don't need tons of detail. All you need is detail that you can communicate effectively to the client. That's it. Because I could take somebody and I could actually do an assessment that lasts an entire hour and have leftover, okay? If I wanted to. I could start from the head, go all the way down to the toes, and we can assess every part of the body. I could take them through different movements. I could look at joint mobility. I could look at, extensibility. I could look at all these different things. But that's where you really make a big mistake. And I had some trainers like this. I had a trainer who used to work for me who was incredibly knowledgeable when it came to correctional exercise, actually had a clinical background. And I watched her do an assessment. And I remember this was someone that hadn't hired her yet, and she used, I think it's called I think it's called a protractor.
Show the leg lowering.
Yeah, and she was measuring spinal flexion. She was using a level. It's just a crazy assessment. And then this person leaves, and I said, "Wow, how long have they been working with
lasers,
you?" Yeah, like how long is this person with you? And she's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to see if they want to hire me." And I sat her down. And I said, "Listen, you worked in a clinical setting." When in a clinical setting, it's paid for. Yeah. And so you need that kind of assessment to break down why this person's leg hurts or whatever. This person coming in, you have an hour to convey your value. All you did was show you could do a bunch of measurements. To them, they don't know if any of that's valuable.
You just confuse them.
You might impress someone because they might be like, wow, look at all this gadgets and stuff. But the reality is,
why is it relevant?
Why is it relevant? So it needs to be simple. Your assessment needs to be simple, not super detailed. In fact, for any of you watching who have our MAPS Prime program, you know the assessment that we have in Prime, which is how we train our trainers. So we have trainers on staff that we teach how to do our Prime assessment. There's 3 movements. That's it. It's literally 3 movements. It needs to be simple. It just needs to convey value, but you got to keep it simple. The more detailed it gets, the more you move away from what I'm talking about.
It's 3 movements, and it's as simple as pass or fail.
That's it.
There's nothing in the middle. Even though that we know that there's going to be a wide spectrum of where people fall on there, it doesn't matter. If you can't do it perfect, it's a fail. Therefore, I have things that will improve and help this.
Right. The next mistake, and don't do this, is keep the information to yourself. So what does this look like? Trainers doing the assessment, and let's say, by the way, I'm gonna be clear here. Regardless of what kind of assessment you choose to do, let's say you do the standard squat, posture, push, pull assessment, which is a very common assessment, or you do our Prime assessment, or you do some other assessment. It really doesn't matter. What we're communicating applies to all of them. Do not keep the information to yourself. I've seen trainers do this as well. Well, they do a squat assessment. Okay, put your arms up above your head. Please squat. And then they're taking notes.
Yeah, then don't tell them.
And then they move to the next thing. Okay, we're going to do a push exercise. Yeah. What did you see? Yeah. How do I know what I'm doing? Like, what's going on here? Yeah. Where's the value? That information that you're collecting needs to be communicated to the client.
Well, back to your original point, Sal. Let's compare 2 trainers. There's one trainer who does all these assessments, all these movements, and denotes, notice arms fall forward, denotes, asymmetrical, denotes feet externally, and they denote all that, but don't communicate in there. And that trainer knows all that information, writes all that stuff, is less valuable than the trainer who finds one thing
highlights it,
that is off on them and explains to them like, the reason why your arms fall forward is you have really tight lats. Watch when we do this stretch right here and see if we can improve, and then show them an improvement, and then they go, oh wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That trainer may have less knowledge than the one who's able to break down and diagnose everything in their body, but the trainer who showed this person or enlightened them on something that they didn't even know was going on in their body, and then shows them how to improve
it. Even the most intelligent trainer out of the bunch knows over time and with experience to reduce it down to 1 to 2 things is so powerful and so effective. You're reading them just like anything else. Like what's their button? What's their motivator? What's the thing that's going to stand out the most? And you get that from their body language and their feedback and how enthused they are. So we stay there.
Yes.
And you learn that as, your experience grows.
So I was always looking for the most egregious thing.
Yes.
So I'm going to be talking to them, doing the assessment, making my notes, communicating to them what I'm seeing. But I'm not going to put a lot of energy and focus until I see the most egregious thing. And the most egregious thing I see, that's what we're going to spend our time on.
And the thing you can show the value.
And that's what we're going to go on the floor and do.
Yes, which is what we're going to get to. Also, by the way, you run the risk of this, by the way. A lot of trainers don't realize this. You tell this potential person, this potential client, 15 different deviations. Here's what that person starts to feel like. Oh my God.
I can't do anything.
I'm worthless. I'm a mess. This is terrible. Yeah. And you actually crap them out. They don't want to work with you. In fact, we had a post in our forum like this. Somebody went and got an assessment and came back with a chiropractor broke them down. She's like, I didn't know I was this bad. I couldn't. I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, no, this is all normal stuff. You could correct with exercise. But she's like, I don't know what I should do. You don't want to convey everything. You pick the 1 or 2 things.
That's right.
And communicate that. And then here's another mistake is that you'll hear trainers who understand physiology, they understand biomechanics, so and they use terminology that doesn't make sense. And what they're really trying to do is convey their intelligence.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But really what you're doing is not conveying value. Okay. Yeah. For example, Adam, as he was whispering and pretending to be that trainer that's not doing a good job, he said asymmetrical shift. If I notice an asymmetrical shift,
no, you're going to say it moves to the left or the right.
I may say asymmetrical shift, but then I'm going to say, you know what that means? That means your left side is moving this way. Your right side is moving over here.
Listen. So, and I know there, of course, the nerdy trainer. Okay, there is a balance of this. Whenever I would have a doctor, chiropractor, physical therapist in there, you would hear me sprinkle in a little bit of terminology so they knew that I knew what I was talking about, but then I would still communicate. So I would say something like, you had an asymmetrical shift when you did your squat. What that means is your hips moved to the left when you came down. So I would use the terminology so that the person, and only if it was somebody who I felt needed to know that. If it was just the average Jane or Joe I'm training, there's no reason to even say asymmetrical chef.
Right.
It's like literally when you squat down, your hips move to the left. Like that's all I have to say, or your arms fall forward. You don't have to say that your latissimus dorsi is tight. Like that makes no sense to say that, like it makes no sense to do that, and you only lose the people. So if you are going to use any of those terms, you better follow it up with a simplified version of that, or else you just lose that client.
Yeah, I used to tell people like, oh, you have an anterior pelvic tilt. All right, you know what that means? Your butt kind of sticks out a little bit. Yes. Oh, okay. You explain the terminology.
Instagram chick butt.
That's right. So now let's talk about what you do. How do I make this assessment as valuable as possible? Or to put it differently, how do I make this assessment powerfully, a powerful way to convey my value? So the first thing is you communicate what you see in easy to understand terms, and then tell them what it means to them. Okay. So so I'll use the example I just gave with the anterior pelvic tilt. So I'm having them do a posture. I'm looking at their posture. Let's say it's part of my assessments, watching their posture. So stand up for me, nice and relaxed. I go sideways. I see, okay, do your squat. They come up. Okay. One thing that I noticed is you have a bit of an anterior pelvic tilt. What that basically means is your butt kind of sticks out a little bit. Now, when that happens, a lot of times people feel pressure right in this low back area. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm conveying to them what it means to them. And also what's probably going to happen is that person's going to go,
I do have lower back.
Oh, I do feel that in my low back. So it's coming from that. So use easy to understand terminology, explain it to them, and then explain what it means for them. Don't just say you have this and that's it. It's here's what this means for you. I noticed when you did a squat, your arms over your head, your arms really fell down forward. You probably have really tight lats. That's this muscle right here, and maybe a weakness in your upper back. With a lot of my clients who have this, they tend to have tension in their upper neck because the muscles that are supposed to stabilize the shoulder aren't doing what they're supposed to. And then the person's going to go, oh, they're going to think they're like, wow, I do have tension in my neck. So explain what it means to them. Then what you do, here's the next thing, okay? Explain the benefit of what you're going to do for that problem. Explain the benefit. So with the person, let's say with the arms falling forward, I can say, so what we would do because of that weakness in your upper back that's causing some of that neck tension, I'm going to do some exercises that focus on pulling your shoulder blades back. And I may stand behind them and say, hey, you mind if I put my hands on your shoulders? This is what we're going to work on, is pulling the shoulders back. Now what I'm doing is I'm expressing the benefit, because it's not just what it is and what it does, but what's the benefit is it's going to make your neck feel a lot better.
There's a little bit of sales psychology that you're doing right now that I think is important to communicate to the trainer how powerful that is too, because I would take it a step further, and even when I'm saying this, I'm saying what we are going to do.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, is it's going to be easy for me to lose 10 pounds of fat for you or build a little bit of muscle.
Yeah. Great side note.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is when I design your program, I'm going to specifically design exercises that are going to alleviate some of that pain that you're having and correct some of those problems that we see right now. That's part of what my job is. My job is to simplify that for you, so you just show up and you work out and you know what to do because I've taught you those movements.
Now, the next point here is to use the example of the person with the weak upper mid back, and I said this is why you have neck tension. I'm going to say we're going to do exercises that pull this back, which is going to take away tension in your neck. Is I'm now going to say, let me show you an exercise that may do that. Then I'm going to take them over to something different. Let's say a cable row or a seated row. We're going to do some of that exercise. I'm going to put them in proper position. Then I'm going to have them stand up and I'm going to say, do you feel a difference? Yes, I do. And then here's the one of the most important parts. I'm going to do what's called a tie down in sale or in sales training. Or to put it differently, I'm going to get them to agree that this is valuable, because this I can't express enough. Every statement you make, anytime you're talking to anybody, but especially to a potential client, they can judge as either true or false. It is not a true statement until they agree to it. Just remember that. I could say all the whatever I want. It's not until they say, oh, yes, that's true, that it's actually true. So once I do the row exercise and they feel the mid back and they stand up and I say, can you see how that'll start to take tension off of your neck? Can you see how that'll benefit you? And they say, yes, now it's true. Now, why is this important? As I'm doing the assessment, my goal is to get them to say yes to my value several times. As I do that, imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. As it rolls down the hill, it collects more snow. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And what you'll find if you do this right, through this, and literally this kind of an assessment that I'm talking about would take you 20 to 30 minutes. It's not an hour, it's about 20 to 30 minutes. As the ball is rolling down, as a snowball is gathering steam, the big yes is almost inevitable, which is, here we go, will you hire me?
Yeah.
So that's the process, right? Tie it down at the very end. And with your assessment, you should be able to find 2 or 3 areas that you can convey this kind of value. And then we talked about pain, or Adam mentioned this earlier, with correctional exercise that you can do in an assessment. What I like to do is have the person see and feel the difference.
Yes.
So if I highlight something like neck tension, I'll say to them, all right, where does it feel tight? They'll point to it. We'll do the movement. I'll have them come out and say, does it feel any different? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It feels a lot different.
Isometrics are great for this.
Can you see how this is going to make your neck pain go away? Yes, I can. Move down the line.
This is the reason why I'm looking for the most egregious thing, right? Is because this gives me the greatest opportunity to show them the greatest improvement in 1 hour. If you pick this person apart, because by the way, most people are going to fail so many of the tests and assessments that you do with them. Most people movement-wise.
Most trainers will fail.
Yeah, exactly. Most people movement-wise are pretty broken. And so you don't want to just, your point earlier, make this person feel like they're inept, they can't do anything, and they may as well give up. It's like, yeah, these are really common. A lot of people have.
I always say that. It's very common.
Very, very common. This, very, very common. That, this, and this, and then it's like, then you find something that's like really bad that they like, and really bad in the sense that it's very egregious as far as how far. Maybe their feet really externally rotate when they come out, or maybe it's just one side and not the other. It's like, oh wow, there's a major discrepancy there. There's an opportunity for me to show them the difference in what's happening right there, and then to take them on the floor to do specific exercises, show how I can help that. And a lot of times you could take something that is really egregious like that, show them some corrective exercise, come back to the squat again and show, like, remember when we first did it, when we first started our assessment and your left foot went way open and now it's like barely moving right now? That's just in 1 hour of us doing some movements. Like, part of my job as we go through it, and I designed this program for you, will be to completely eliminate that and fix that. And then the downstream effects from that is you're also going to feel better on your low back. You won't notice that. You won't feel that tightness in your neck that we're talking about. It's all stemming from that. And part of my job, yes, lose you 15 pounds, build the muscle. That's the easy part. But this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what makes a really good trainer.
And an easy tie down for what Adam just said would be, you would just end it with say, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And you're totally done. So to give another example, if I do a squat assessment and I see the person's feet turning out, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a note of it. Then I'm going to tell them, okay, it looks like your feet are externally rotating. All right, what that means is as you're squatting, I don't know if you noticed this, but your feet started to turn out. Typically, the cause of that is some immobility issues in the ankle. Come over here, let's do some mobility exercises for your ankle. It's going to take us about 5 minutes. Then we're going to try that squat again. Now, the reason why that's important is when you have issues with ankle mobility, when you try to do exercise like squats, sometimes that causes knee pain and low back pain. Does that ever happen to you? Yes, it does. Come over here, let me show you something. Then we do some ankle mobility movements. Then we go back to the squat. Let me have you try it again. Does that feel different? Yes, it does. Can you see how doing this kind of stuff is going to make the workout so much more effective for you? Yes, I do. Imagine doing that throughout the entire assessment with different movements. At the end of 30 minutes, this person is thinking to themselves, you know what you're talking about. You can really help me in ways I didn't even imagine. I thought I was here to lose weight, which you keep telling me is going to happen.
Yeah.
But now my knee pain's going to be gone. I feel better. And you're so much different than what I thought. What I thought a trainer was is you just know exercises and you motivate me. Now I realize you're incredibly valuable. How easy is it going to be to sell this person $100 plus a session? Not hard at all. And the closing percentage goes to the roof.
The best part about this is, like, you can be a relatively new trainer and start to practice this and get better. And over time, once you've been doing this for a long time, just like anything else, you get really good. And when you get really good at this, you soon will be able to look at the way somebody walks. They squat down one time, and you're going to be able to predict the things they can do, they can't do. And it is unbelievably powerful when you can predict where that person probably had surgery or what bothers them on their body without them telling you based off the way they move. There's nothing I've ever done as a trainer. The only thing more powerful than that, in my opinion, is a client who I changed their life who referred me another client.
Yeah, there's nothing more guaranteed.
Yeah, that's the only thing more guaranteed. Like if I changed Susie's life, she lost 100 pounds and she's telling the world that she couldn't have done it without me. And I get one of those clients come in and they're like, hey,
done deal.
Susie told me I got to come train with you. And man, you changed her life. Like sign me up. Like that's about as easy as it can get. The next is assessing people on that level.
Yes.
That there's nothing more powerful other than the referral of the person you changed their life than doing a deep, good assessment where you can teach people, enlighten them on their body, on either things they had no idea about or they didn't know why. Like so many people like, yeah, I've got this clicking in my shoulder, or I've got this nagging hip pain, or my knee always bothers on the left side. And when you can help them understand why that is, oh man.
And in majority of time, show them some improvement in 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's mind blown.
Absolute done deal. Okay, so we just talked about the assessment, how to do any assessment in a way that makes your value look skyrocket, essentially. We have a webinar coming up. This is going to be on June 3rd. You go to trainerwebinar.com. This webinar, I'm going to teach you how to sell training. So at the end of this assessment, you've done all this stuff. Now we got to go back. I'm going to present my packages. I'm going to present training. How do I present it in a way to where I get no objections and you hire me? That's what's happening on this webinar. It's June 3rd. Go to trainerwebinar.com. Sign up. It's totally free. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific. I can't wait to see you guys there. All right. I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. All right. So we're here. This is the first of a 3-part series we're making for trainers and coaches only, or people who want to be a trainer or a coach. And the first one, which we're going to talk about today, is the successful trainer mindset. It's the first one because it's the most important.